Have you had a moment where your emotions completely took over and it felt like logic just went out the window? Maybe it was an argument or a stressful situation where, even though you knew what the right thing to do was, your emotions just couldn't let you think clearly. Well, in this video, I will explore how cognition and emotion interact in our brain. They are both very different from each other and have different effects. Cognition refers to our mental processes related to thinking, reasoning, and decision-making. Emotion, on the other hand, is how we feel about something, and it may involve positive and negative emotion. Emotions can be measured using a spectrum. For example, you may be able to describe how pleasantly or unpleasantly you may feel, using a ranking of 1 to 10, and so you may feel mixed about something too. You may also feel intrinsically veloce towards a side, meaning you may either feel a positive or negative feeling towards something. The brain has different areas which deal with cognition and emotion. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex is the brain area responsible for cognitive control and executive processing, and so it's involved in things like decision-making and planning. This part helps you think through situations and make reasoned decisions. An area to do with emotions is the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. This part is linked to emotional regulation, and so it helps with self-regulation and stopping your emotional reactions from taking over. It's also involved in the decision-making process, particularly in terms of managing emotional responses. The orbitofrontal cortex is interesting because it works in a way which involves both cognition and emotion. This area is critical in linking emotion with rewards. It helps in decision-making, especially when rewards and emotional reactions are involved. This area helps decide how valuable something is, like how much you want a certain food, and this plays a big role in decision-making. This ties in emotion because you may feel a desire to eat something, but this area also measures whether it is worth doing so by checking how valuable this is. But why do we even have emotions in the first place? Charles Darwin suggested that emotions evolved as a way to signal our intentions to others. This is why facial expressions, like anger, can communicate how we're feeling even without words. However, it is important to note that whilst emotions can be expressed facially, they also may not be fully accurate, and our perception of these facial expressions may misguide us. There are different theories of how emotions are processed. Folk psychology states that you perceive an event, and then your emotion is triggered, followed by physiological changes in your body, such as increased heart rate. On the contrary, the James Lange theory says that first, your body reacts, and then you experience the emotion. Time may feel strange, but nonetheless it's a theory. The Cannon-Bard theory states that emotions and bodily responses happen together. This was supported by studies showing that emotions continue even when bodily reactions are removed. Now you may understand how emotions and cognition work in the brain and the potential processes behind them. So how does all of this play out in real life? Think about how emotions influence your everyday decisions. If you're stressed or upset, you're not always thinking rationally. Emotions can take over and change the way we process information. For example, you may have disagreements with someone. Emotions can cloud your judgments, and automatically you may think the worst of them. However, if you take a moment, you may be able to think more clearly and less emotionally. This will allow you to make a more precise judgment. Emotions definitely are important though, and this shouldn't be overlooked, but they need to be used adequately. In a debate, things can get heated, but having strong emotions to a subject may help too. In sports, emotions play a crucial role. Of course, balance is key. Emotional regulation is important. Therefore, if you are playing a sport like soccer or football, you may want some aggression to get the ball, but you don't want too much emotion because it may affect how you play and you may not think clearly and do something you may regret. It depends on the circumstance, and that is for you to evaluate. Platforms like Twitter or X and TikTok have content with strong opinions. Thinking critically about these opinions and stepping aside from the effect of emotion can help you judge the opinions. However, some opinions on social media may be very strong or even absurd and may affect you emotionally. Putting your phone away and taking breaks from these platforms can help. Social media, by its nature, plays on our emotions. When you are away from your phone, you are away from the things that stress you on your phone. This can range from extremist takes to seeing people's accomplishments. And even if you don't realize it, your phone may be adding unnecessary stress to your life. And when you take time away from social media, even for a few hours, you'll feel freed away from the shackles of reels. Another approach comes from Aristotle and his idea of eudaimonia, or living in balance. He argued that living according to reason, while also acknowledging and regulating negative emotions, leads to a flourishing life. In psychological terms, this is emotional regulation, which involves learning how to manage your emotions instead of letting them control you. From a more practical standpoint, you can practice mindfulness to be aware of your emotional states and cognitive responses.